On a warm June night in 1994, two people were brutally murdered in Brentwood, Los Angeles. The victims were Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman. Within days, the prime suspect would lead police on a chase watched by 95 million Americans. This was not just a murder case. This was the trial of the century. Orenthal James Simpson was born on July 9, 1947, in San Francisco. He grew up in public housing in the Potrero Hill neighborhood. As a young man, Simpson discovered he had an extraordinary talent for football. In 1967, he enrolled at the University of Southern California. In his very first season, he led all college running backs in rushing. The following year, 1968, he won the Heisman Trophy. That award is the highest honor in college football. In 1969, Simpson was the first overall pick in the NFL draft. He joined the Buffalo Bills and quickly became a superstar. In 1973, he became the first player in NFL history to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season. No one had ever done that before. Simpson retired from football in 1979. He had rushed for 11,236 yards in his career. In 1985, he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But Simpson was more than just an athlete. He became a movie star, appearing in The Towering Inferno. He also starred in the popular Naked Gun comedy films. He worked as a sports commentator and television pitchman. His friendly smile made him one of the most beloved figures in America. On February 2, 1985, Simpson married Nicole Brown. She was a beautiful young woman he had met while she was working as a waitress. They had two children together, Sydney and Justin. From the outside, they seemed like the perfect family. But behind closed doors, the marriage was troubled. Police were called to their home multiple times. In 1989, Simpson pleaded no contest to spousal abuse. Nicole had called 911, reporting that he had beaten her. Despite the charges, the couple stayed together for several more years. In 1992, Nicole Brown Simpson filed for divorce. She cited irreconcilable differences. Even after the separation, their relationship remained volatile. Nicole lived in fear. She told friends she believed Simpson would one day kill her. On the evening of June 12, 1994, Nicole attended her daughter Sydney's dance recital. O.J. Simpson was there too. After the recital, Nicole had dinner with friends and family at Mezzaluna. It was a restaurant in Brentwood where Ron Goldman worked as a waiter. Nicole's mother accidentally left her eyeglasses at the restaurant. Ron Goldman offered to drop them off at Nicole's home. It was a simple, kind gesture. It would cost him his life. At approximately 10:15 p.m., Nicole was stabbed to death outside her condominium at 875 South Bundy Drive. She was just 35 years old. The attack was savage. She was nearly decapitated. Ron Goldman arrived moments later. He may have interrupted the attack. He was also stabbed to death. He was only 25 years old, just 20 days shy of his birthday. At 10:41 p.m., Brian Cato Kalin was staying at Simpson's mansion on Rockingham Avenue. He heard three loud thumping noises from the other side of the wall. He went outside to investigate. He found nothing unusual. At 10:50 p.m., a neighbor noticed Nicole's white Akita dog barking outside. The dog had blood on its paws. The neighbor followed the dog. It led them to the bodies. At 11:01 p.m., a limousine driver named Alan Park had been waiting since 10:25 p.m. He finally saw Simpson exit his house. A few minutes later, Park drove Simpson to Los Angeles International Airport. Simpson had a flight to Chicago. At 11:45 p.m., O.J. Simpson boarded his flight. He left Los Angeles. 2 people lay dead in Brentwood. At midnight on June 13, 1994, Nicole's dog led neighbors to the crime scene. They discovered the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Police were called immediately. Detectives arrived at Bundy Drive within minutes. They found blood everywhere. The crime scene was horrific. Blood drops led away from the bodies. At 4:15 a.m., Simpson checked into a hotel in Chicago. He told the front desk he had received bad news about his ex-wife. Police tracked him down by phone. When detectives visited Simpson's Rockingham mansion that morning, they found blood drops outside. A bloody glove was discovered near the guest house. It was a left-handed Eris isotoner leather glove. It was covered in blood. At the Bundy crime scene, detectives found the matching right-handed glove. Both gloves had blood that matched Nicole Brown Simpson's DNA. Later testing would show the blood also matched O.J. Simpson's DNA. Blood evidence was found in Simpson's Ford Bronco. Blood trails were found inside his home. A bloody sock was discovered in his bedroom. The blood matched Nicole Brown Simpson. Simpson's alibi began to crumble. He said he was asleep when the murders happened. Then he said he was in the shower. The limo driver's testimony contradicted his story. On June 14, 1994, LAPD detective Tom Lang called Simpson. He told him to turn himself in. Simpson said he would. He did not. On June 17, 1994, Simpson was supposed to surrender to police at 11 a.m. He did not show up. An arrest warrant was issued. Instead, Simpson disappeared. He was found in the back seat of a white Ford Bronco. His friend Al Cowlings was driving. Simpson had a gun. He threatened to kill himself. What followed was one of the most surreal events in American television history. A slow-speed chase across Los Angeles freeways. The Bronco drove at just 35 miles per hour. Police cars followed behind. Television stations interrupted their regular programming. They cut away from Game 5 of the 1994 NBA Finals. An estimated 95 million Americans watched the chase live. It was like watching a real-time thriller unfold. Hundreds of Simpsons fans lined the freeways. They held signs reading "Go O.J." and "We love O.J." Some waved American flags. Others knelt in prayer. The scene was divided along racial lines. The chase lasted for hours. It ended at Simpson's Brentwood estate. He surrendered peacefully. He was taken into police custody. The mugshot was taken on June 17, 1994. It became one of the most famous photographs in American history. O.J. Simpson, the beloved football hero, was now a murder suspect. On July 22, 1994, Simpson was formally arraigned. He pleaded not guilty. The stage was set for the trial of the century. The trial began on January 24, 1995. It was held at the Clara Shortridge Falls Criminal Justice Center in downtown Los Angeles. Judge Lance Ito presided over the case. The prosecution team was led by Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden. They presented a mountain of forensic evidence: blood, DNA, hair samples, fiber evidence, the murder weapon, a Bundy knife. On day one, Christopher Darden delivered a powerful opening statement. He told the jury he killed her out of jealousy. He killed her because he couldn't have her. The prosecution argued that domestic violence was the motive. The defense assembled what the media called the Dream Team. It included Robert Shapiro, F. Lee Bailey, Johnny Cochran, Alan Dershowitz, Robert Kardashian, and DNA experts Barry Scheck and Peter Neufeld. It was one of the most expensive legal teams ever assembled. On January 18, Johnny Cochran had taken over as lead defense counsel. He was charismatic, persuasive, and brilliant. He would become the face of the defense. The prosecution called witness after witness. Denise Brown, Nicole's sister, tearfully testified about the abuse. She described Simpson as a controlling, violent man. The jury listened intently. But the defense had a strategy. They would challenge every piece of evidence. They would question the competence of the LAPD. And they would play the race card. The jury visited the crime scenes. They walked through Simpson's Rockingham mansion. They stood at Bundy Drive where Nicole and Ron were killed. It was a powerful moment. On March 13, 1995, Detective Mark Fuhrman took the stand. The prosecution needed him to authenticate the evidence. Under oath, Fuhrman denied using racial slurs. He denied being racist. What happened next would change the course of the trial. The defense had a secret weapon. They had obtained audio recordings of Mark Fuhrman. On those recordings, Fuhrman used racial slurs repeatedly. He bragged about beating suspects. He described planting evidence. The tapes were devastating. Fuhrman had lied under oath. The defense argued that Fuhrman had planted the bloody glove at Simpson's home. They claimed the entire investigation was tainted by racism. On June 15, 1995, the most famous moment of the trial occurred. Christopher Darden asked Simpson to try on the leather glove found at the crime scene. It was a dramatic gamble. Simpson struggled to put on the glove. It appeared too small. He pulled and tugged. The jury watched closely. The courtroom held its breath. Johnny Cochran would later say those immortal words, "If the gloves don't fit, you must acquit." It became the slogan of the defense. It would echo through American culture for decades. The glove demonstration was a turning point. Many legal experts believe it was the moment the trial was won. The image of Simpson struggling with the glove was seared into America's memory. The defense also attacked the DNA evidence. Barry Scheck argued that the LAPD had mishandled the samples. He claimed contamination was possible. The jury heard conflicting expert opinions. The prosecution fought back. They presented phone records showing Simpson called Nicole repeatedly that night. They showed the timeline. They presented the mountain of evidence. But doubts remained. On June 22, 1995, Mark Fuhrman invoked the Fifth Amendment. He refused to answer questions about planting evidence. The jury saw a detective who had lied under oath. The prosecution's case was damaged. On September 26, 1995, the jury began deliberations. They had heard 134 days of testimony. They had seen 150 witnesses. They had reviewed thousands of pieces of evidence. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. That was all it took. On October 3, 1995, the verdict was announced. The entire nation stopped to watch. Schools stopped classes. Businesses closed. An estimated 100 million Americans tuned in. We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder. The courtroom erupted. Outside, crowds celebrated in the streets. Along racial lines, reactions were split. Many Black Americans celebrated what they saw as a victory against a racist police force. Many white Americans were stunned. They believed the evidence was overwhelming. O.J. Simpson was a free man. He had been acquitted of murdering his ex-wife and her friend. The families of Nicole and Ron were devastated. Fred Goldman, Ron's father, spoke to reporters. His voice shook with emotion. He called the verdict a travesty of justice. The Goldman family would not give up. The criminal trial was over. But the legal battles were not. In October 1996, the Goldman and Brown families filed a civil wrongful death lawsuit. The burden of proof was lower. It was not beyond a reasonable doubt. It was a preponderance of the evidence. On February 4, 1997, the civil jury found Simpson responsible for the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. He was ordered to pay $33.5 million in damages. It was a symbolic victory for the families. Simpson never paid the full amount. He moved to Florida in 1999. Florida